Hey everybody, this is Perch, and a very simple viewer question, and it's: do comics have postmortems? Do people in comics discuss when a comic doesn't succeed, when it's canceled early? Do they discuss the reasons why? Do they go over what could have been done differently, how things would have been changed? Um, the mail ends there, fairly simple, but to many of you, you may be saying postmortem. What is a postmortem? Well, if you've worked in many different fields. Technology, the term postmortem got very popular, like a lot of things in software and technology. They pick up terms from other industries and they kind of co-opt them a little bit. But the idea of a postmortem, and I think I've discussed this before, is this: you get done with a project and you schedule a aftermath or a wrap up meeting, and the people come and they say, all right, what went well and what went poorly, and what should we change for next time? There's usually three buckets. Sometimes they call this what is it? There's another term that floats out there. Why am I not remembering what this is? It's not a stand up. That's a regular meeting. It's not postmortem is the old fashioned way of saying it. It is a retrospective. There we go, retrospective. And you got those three columns: went well, didn't go well, change. So to the question, first off, do they do this in comics? No, no, flatly no. I wouldn't be surprised if some individual kind of writers take this upon themselves to do it. I don't know, to be honest. I've asked a lot of people. Nobody I've ever talked to uh, has said that they do this. There's certainly no formal process. There's no like, somebody in Tom Brevort's office schedules a Zoom meeting and then people get on board and they talk over what went on. Nothing like that happens. I think this would be a very smart thing for comics to start doing. And bear in mind, just taking a step back from comics for a moment, this is just a good life thing for you to do, for anyone to do. When you engage in whatever, you're buying a house, you're buying a dog, you're going on a vacation, you're whatever it happens to be. It's a good idea to come together, either just you with your internal voices, if you have them, or your family, whatever it happens to be, and to say, all right, let's recap what went on there. Did we like, what do we think about the airline? Do we want to fly that airline again? What do we think about the rental car service if it's a vacation? Did we like the spot? We want to go back. What was something we could do differently next time? Don't make it into a boring, it's not meant to be work. It's just basically taking stock of the decisions you made and, assessing if there were good decisions, bad decisions, things you want to do differently next time. That's healthy. Most, intelligent, rational, normal people do this. They, even informally in their own mind, they're like, oh, I went on that date. Next time, don't pull out my dick. That there's things you can learn from almost every interaction. Um, so I'm sure that on some level, some of this goes on maybe in people's minds as an individual effort in comics, but nobody I've talked to across any of the companies anywhere does a more formal kind of wrap up. It would be smart to do it. Now how for example could it have been done? Well, let's say you pull the X office together post Hellfire Gala. So to plan the Hellfire Gala, somebody had an idea, they joked around, they came up with some scripts, they rolled it out. The comic ultimately was printed, went to the stores, sales information came in. Now, a really good, smart thing for comic companies to start doing would be, in this case, Jordan White, the lead editor for the line, says, all right, we're going to come together for, an hour, 2 hours, and we're going to get on Zoom together, and we're going to share the sales figures, and we're going to talk about some of the reviews. We're going to look at some of the reviews that came in, and, in the interest of transparency, which I think that Image Union is asking for, right? In the interest of transparency, we're going to see how it did, where it sold, how was sell through, how did it sell to the stores. Then we're going to talk to a bunch of the stores and find out, how did it sell through to the customers. They still have it on the shelf. And we're going to say, how do we like it? Are we going to do it again? Will there be another Hellfire Gala? What did people like? What did people not like? Hey, over there, Leah Williams, it seemed like people didn't like that X Factor ended during the Hellfire Gala, and apparently there was some allegations of, slash phobe for, How we portrayed a gay character as a victim in your book. How could we have avoided that in the future? Hey, I don't know. You could go down the list of various things. Hey, Children of the Atom was not officially part of the Hellfire Gala, but we spent at least one issue talking about the Hellfire Gala. We showed some of the Hellfire Gala, but it wasn't on the checklist. Do we like the way that worked? Should we do it differently? This is a good conversation to have. But in order to have it, you've got to want a couple things, and the biggest is you've got to want to learn from your mistake, and so that also requires admitting you made a mistake, and that I think is the biggest barrier to comics doing this. If there's one truth about comics, and it's a weird one, it's that the people involved in it really hate admitting on any level that a mistake was made, even when it's clear there was a mistake made. For example, somebody at Marvel encouraged C.B. Spolsky to write under an Asian pen name. C.B. Spolsky did not come up with this in his own mind and cheat Marvel somehow. This decision was made, I mean, I'm sure with his involvement, but not purely his. A number of people did this. And how did that work out for him? Was it a good, did it help the sales of the comic to have an Asian name on the comic that was, talking about Japan? Did that do any good? Should you do it again? Hey, this backlash, was it, just a bunch of annoying people on Twitter, or was there actually a problem here that people should address? That reflecting on the decisions you make and the things that go poorly is a good thing to do. When they did, what was that? Fear Itself. I remember that event came out, and Marvel was riding high on events. They had done Secret Invasion, and they had done they had done Dark Reign, and those were very popular. They did Civil War, which of course was mega popular, and then Fear Itself was an event, and that comic didn't do well. The sales were much lower than the others. And I remember kind of asking at the time, because I was friends with the writer, or at least I had talked to the writer, and then some of the other people, like, hey, what went wrong? And the response I got was nothing went wrong. Now, this obviously wasn't true, because if you looked at the sales numbers, the sales were sharply lower than previous events. But the company, the people involved, were very willing to write it off as, just made less money. I mean, yeah, substantially less, like 40% less. Made a lot less money. Why, why are we pretending that it's all equal? Because it wasn't. But it was my first, I don't want to say my first, but it was an early lesson, I think, in one of the issues that goes on behind the scenes in the companies themselves is a hard aversion to recognizing any mistake, to acknowledging it. If we acknowledge there's a mistake, then we're giving away our power. Then we're admitting that we could do something wrong. And if we admit we do something wrong, then we're weak and somebody could attack us. It's just a very strange mentality. It persists today. I was in a conversation with somebody just 2 days ago, and they're like, well, DC's never going to admit that they screwed up some of the future state stuff. They're never going to admit that. Even though, sales, confusion, retailers upset about it, even though it's clear there were mistakes made. And by the way, these mistakes are not always catastrophic. I don't think that, Fear Itself didn't sell well. The solution to that is Matt Fraction can never write a comic again. Of course not. Nobody's saying that. But there is what went wrong here? Because there's a lot of parts that go into the comic. Was it marketed poorly? Were the solicitations off? Did we not offer the right incentives for the program? Did we do it too close to a previous event? What might have been the issue here? Were people just not into Thor? Why didn't it go well? Those are good questions to ask, and that's what a postmortem would do. But if you're scared of those answers, if you're going to avoid at all costs answering those questions because you're afraid that it will make you look weak or you give away your power or whatever kind of crazy idea you have in your head, well, you're just going to keep making the same mistakes over and over again, and you're also going to get more and more dislodged from the market. And if comics were art, like art on cave walls, where a caveman bored of hunting saber-toothed tigers and banging half the tribe, they head on into the cave to just scratch on rocks for a couple hours because they find that relaxing. That caveman didn't need to make money. Nobody's coming giving him pelts or meat or sex for doing any of that. That guy's just doing it for, I don't know, for the hell of it. Comics aren't that. Comics do have a purpose, and that purpose is to sell and to make money. And if they make money, then more comics get made. If the comics make no money, then no comics get made. It's not, this isn't art for art's sake. There's actually a business here. And before people in the comments like, yeah, but they don't treat it like a business. Okay, fine. It's still a business though. There's a price tag on the comic, correct? When you go to buy it, you have to give them your money in order to obtain it. That means it's a business. Anybody can do whatever they want. They can treat it however they want. They can act. They can do it. They can say whatever they want. It's still a business. It could be a business that's not doing very well. It can be a business that isn't optimized. Whatever it is, it's still a business. And if you're selling something for money, then it's a good idea to understand what you did well so you can keep doing it, what you did wrong so you could stop doing it, and the actions you can take to ensure more success and less failure. That's just, again, common sense. And comics do need to take part in that. That's the right thing to do. Um, I it is frustrating. I will tell you, it's very frustrating, and it's where you get certain things like, I don't know, this big brawl that got reported on very poorly, by the way, of a bunch of racist retailers started shouting at the New York City Comic Con that there was too much diversity in comics. That's not even remotely what happened in that event. That's a wild misrepresentation of what went on. But the core of what was going on there was Marvel took away a number of their legacy characters. They introduced a lot of new characters. They, for whatever reason, and that's what a postmortem would do, many of them did not land. A couple of them did. Miles Morales seemed to do okay. Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, seemed to do okay. Many of the rest of them did not. Rather than say, this big plan of ours didn't seem to go well, instead, people doubled down in the no mistakes were made. You're the one who's wrong. You're the one who's wrong for questioning. But unfortunately, it's not a subjective point. The comics didn't make as much money. Many of them were not financially viable. They were canceled. That's not open to debate. That's not and it is weird. I've talked to more and more comic creators lately. Were like, I think my comic made Marvel $100 million last year. Like, it did not. I'm sorry. Have you taken out your calculator and just added up how many copies would sell in order to make $100 million? It didn't make that amount of money. It's like, well, that's your opinion. It's like, no, that's math. That's not my opinion. Like, literally, like, even if you don't know the sales to your comics, which is absurd, by the way, again, take out your phone, take out your iPhone, pull up the calculator, and just do some, at $3.99 cover, how many comics would have to be sold in order to make $100 million? Spoiler, a lot. If your comic was selling that many copies, there would be, first of all, you'd be head of Marvel. Just whoever you are. Anyway, I think it would be wise to learn from mistakes. But if the mode of the company is that looking at mistakes, admitting mistakes, acknowledging on any level that things didn't go perfectly is weakness, then, I mean, yeah, okay, nothing's going to go anywhere. But there you go. No, they don't do it. Yes, they should. Thanks for listening.